I'm not trying to become the guy who just automatically screams liar, but the idea that it's gone one way here, well, Sullivan said this and Crosby backed it up, and so therefore they are definitely telling us the truth. You have to be pretty credulous to assume that a team publicly, front-facing, says the whole unvarnished truth every time they're asked about it.
Well, I think that's true of like the people that really are dependent on the team to sign their checks and take care of them. Like, I don't think Mike Sullivan is going to go out and not take the company line on things, but it's Crosby's body. I mean, I think that if Sid really did check every box before Game 6 and got asked that question today, I don't think a few days later he would just flip and take the Penguin side of things and be like, well, just didn't work out. I couldn't play.
Wait a minute. When has Sidney Crosby in his career ever been a guy who really ruffles feathers and makes waves with comments?
I don't think he has to like make it so apparent, like obvious, that he got cleared and the Penguins basically are now lying about it. Like he basically goes out and 20 minutes after Sullivan speaks, contradicts everything that he says. But if he really got cleared to play and then was told he wasn't allowed to play, I just don't think a few days later he's already able to put that behind him, water under the bridge, block that out, and say nice things about the organization. I don't.
All right, then I need you to, because here's the actual quote. I was listening carefully when Rob said it to us in real time yesterday. I tweeted it out. You and I practically had a race to tweet it out.
Yep.
And I tweeted this exact quote. He had passed a concussion test and wanted to play in Game 6 and was told no, and then I bracketed it by the Penguins because Rob said Hextall at first, but then he said Hextall would be the guy to say that, but it might not have been his decision, right?
Yep.
That was the couching of it. So you have said to start the show today, you believe there is room for both sides to technically thread this needle and not be lying.
Yeah.
What do you actually think happened? Do you think that your very narrow threading of the needle happened, or do you think he was cleared to play, passed the test,
I think
and was
Sidney
told no?
Crosby got the concussion test results came back good, and because they're up 3-2, he is a competitive son of a gun. He looked at that and thought, this should be enough for me to persuade them into letting me play. And when I say them, I mean everyone. I mean the doctors. I mean Mike Sullivan. I mean Ron Hextall. I mean, obviously, because we're dealing with Sidney Crosby.
Sports Group.
Yes. Like, if the concussion test is good, that should be the biggest thing necessary for me to get back on the ice. And even if for other players, you know, you'd want to have contact in practice and you'd want to have all these other things done, I'm Sidney Crosby. I'm our best player. I'm the face of the franchise. As long as my concussion test came back clean, I should be allowed to play. And I think they got together and said, you know what, with you, that's still not enough. We don't want to risk it.
So ultimately, you believe what amounts to what Rob told us.
Yeah, I think that.
Okay,
hold on. The biggest thing that Rob said, you just read the quote.
Passed a concussion test.
I do believe that Sid passed his concussion test.
And you're saying that with Sid, you would think that would be enough for him, Sid, to want to go lobby to play. And because he did not play, then the implicit suggestion is they told him no, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
And I think that when Sullivan said the doctors didn't clear him, I think that there's plausible deniability there too.
Because he could say no one asked him if he passed a concussion test, but he could say implicit in that is he might have passed it, and they still said no.
Yeah, he's still not ready for contact. It's one thing that, okay, his faculties look like they're where they need to be, but still not ready to get out there and play.
My bottom line is then we're getting into, on the Penguin side of it, a very careful semantic dodging of this, which tells me that he was good enough to play and wanted to play and was held out. However the mechanism was, whatever question maybe wasn't asked in even a fine point enough manner.
Yep.
They didn't want him to play, and he did.
And you know what? I would not be surprised if on their end they actually take pride in that.
Because of how his earlier career went, and they're protecting their guy?
Yeah, and we can even have this conversation about it. I think that there are a lot of other organizations out there that probably would have taken that, past concussion test and said, yeah,
I mean,
that's good enough for us. Let's go.
I guess
we need you back out there. Heck yeah. that concussion test.
Okay, do you feel that way about them doing this? Because I don't.
No, I don't.
I mean, I know you're
because I want to win a playoff.
Right.
I want to advance in the playoffs.
When was the last time Crosby had how many issues has he had since the original Steckel hit? Like, once he came back from that, there was one more that was brief. And
I remember him breaking his jaw before the playoffs.
But there was a brief scare after the initial one.
Yeah.
But then I think we're approaching close to a full decade now, are we not?
Yeah,
with him
he
on the
has
other
not
side
missed
of this.
considerable time with a brain injury in a very, very, very long time.
So that's my point. Like, the people that are saying, well, the Penguins are being really responsible, yes, in principle, I can understand that. But this isn't like 6 months after he just missed like a full season. Do you know what I mean? Yep. I think the amount of time in between incidents here matters. And I believe Rob, and I believe that the Penguins engaged in some very careful semantic gymnastics today.
I think the one area on this where I'm not sure if it's going to have long-term negative effects because of how Sidney Crosby came across today. But, Rob inferred when he was on with us that decision to not play Crosby in Game 6 was one that didn't sit well with him and had him really upset.
Wait, did he connect his being upset to that, or more to the lowball offers to Malkin and Letang that he said happened?
Basically, him okay,
conflated the whole thing.
Let me start over on that.
Okay,
that he wasn't really on the same page with management. That when they shut him down and wouldn't let him play in Game 6, that there was not some kind of synergy, or they were not on
a disconnect. Bottom line,
exactly.
Fundamentally broad-based.
But I guess after seeing Crosby get up there and talk today, I don't think that it sowed a long-term discontent, and he's going to hold it over the people that made that decision this offseason, and he's going to file that away down the road. I'm not convinced of that. Because I do think that, I can imagine at the time that he was ticked off about it because he really wanted to play. Mm-hmm. But I think people will get to him and say, look, Sid, this was probably in your best interest.
I think it's very hard to say it was in your best interest to a guy who just watched his last probably chance at it with Malkin and Letang.
Yeah, I think that's the hardest part of
the wayside. Yeah, I don't think that's going to go away easily for him.
And when you're in your mid-30s, you don't know how many – I think he's aged like the Tom Brady of hockey and will have great career longevity. But that's just a guess on my part. Most hockey players, look at Mario. He had obviously a different history of injuries, but not everybody plays into their mid-40s or late 40s like
he's a hockey nerd. He's a conditioning kind of maniac like Jágr. By the way, somebody pointing out he had the Niskanen hit in 2017. So, yeah, there was the brief one there. So it's still been about a half decade anyway since last concussion.
Yep.
I think it's – I guess I don't agree with you in that it's easy enough for him to not have – like more percolating bad feelings about this. Just because I think it means a lot to him to have had one more chance with Malkin and Letang, and I'm sure in his own mind he says, if I came back for Game 6, we get it done.
I would just like for somebody to ask Hextall, if he does talk today, did Sid pass a concussion test before Game 6? And if he says, no, he did not, well then I might have to reconsider everything I'm saying right now. But I do think it's possible that was only one of a few things that were necessary in their minds for him to be ready to get put back on the ice.
Okay, then I have to go to one more thing here, and I hate to be like Mr. Conspiratorial. Ron Hextall is under no obligation to answer that question honestly either.
True.
Like that's, I guess, I'm trying not to be like standoffish about this to you or anybody else, but I want to convey the idea that without being disrespectful, it is very frequently in the best interests of teams to not be truthful with stuff like this. This isn't a matter of public record like where the tax money's going, you know what I mean? Where you can get in trouble if you're lying about how you're spending certain funds.
Well, that would just be part and parcel with the way that hockey injuries have always been talked about.
I'm just saying they have no impetus after the fact to suddenly be like, you know what, you guys caught us with our hand in the cookie jar here. We are, we're full of it. And what is troubling to me is the minute all these guys say very predictably, no, he didn't get cleared, everything else, everyone just takes that as gospel truth. Why? Why? Seriously,
Yeah.
somebody answer that for me.
No,
Why would we automatically assume, no doubt, they're telling the truth?
I think this is an opportunity for so many of these insiders.
Did we know that Casey DeSmith had a groin injury that was lingering for that many weeks before this? Because he talked about how his whole groin and hip popped out.
No, we
didn't.
didn't.
That he had been battling it for over a month.
And if we did, then they were tight-lipped on that.
And that would have completely altered the way you looked at their ability to address goaltender at the trade deadline, would it not have?
I agree with you 100% on that.
And they didn't say a word to the public about it.
Well,
when it happened, they knew. Mm-hmm. They knew their backup goalie was battling an injury and that he was tenuous, maybe.
I think this is a tremendous opportunity for the insiders at both the Pittsburgh level and the national, or in the case of the NHL, international level, because so many of the biggest names in news breaking are based in Canada. It's a chance for them to really get to the bottom of what happened here. And I'll say this. I think there's a chance we get – I don't know what kind of non-disclosure, because we learned a lot about non-disclosure agreements from what happened with Brian Flores when he left Miami.
Mm-hmm.
But Brian Burke is going right back into the media.
Correct.
He's got a seat waiting for him at Sportsnet in Canada the second the Penguins blow him out of that spot.
Which is happening.
He's a lawyer, so he's going to make sure all of his T's are crossed and his I's are dotted and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But if they don't, swear him to secrecy on this,
which would involve paying him extra money to go away, I would think.
He'll go up there, and the first thing he'll talk about is what happened here at the end. I mean, to me, this is a great opportunity for the Elliot Friedmans and
Frank Saravellis,
and Pierre Lebruns and Rob and Yoey. And
does McKenzie come out of retirement and pimping his margarita mix just to try to get the scoop?
I mean, we're talking about a story, Sidney Crosby's head in concussion history, that has captivated Canada before. I mean, there is, not just in Pittsburgh, but there is a high level of interest in this guy's well-being.
Would you say he's still the most famous athlete in Canada, outstripping McDavid?
Yeah, I would say so.
What happens with Sid is still the biggest needle mover up there?
Yeah, I think so.
I would agree.
So, I mean, there's a lot to this. I think it's still incomplete for me. What happened today does not completely make null and void Rob's story, but there's just some areas that need to be colored in here. I think another thing I would almost bank on 100% after listening to these guys talk today is when this started, I felt like there was a better chance Malkin returned to the Penguins than Letang.
Oh, boy.
Now I think it's the opposite. I thought Malkin came across today like a guy that was almost saying his goodbyes to Pittsburgh. And I thought it was highly unusual that Letang would say, I made an agreement with Hextall to not talk about my contract. No one else did that. Russ didn't say that. Raquel didn't say that. Kapanen didn't. He's a restricted free agent.
Although Russ did say something interesting, I thought. Like, he implied that maybe what he feels he's worth, because he talked about getting that. I think he said it might be different here than elsewhere.
Like, he'll take a little bit less because
I think there was the implication in what I remember reading a quote come across from Rust was like, I want to get paid what I'm worth. That might not be the same number.
Well, our guy Tyler Kennedy thinks he's gone for sure.
I do too, because I think Brian Rust has to try to cash in for his big one.
And Rust made a remark about how he had outplayed his current contract, like that he had pretty much already given the Penguins a discount on this deal.
Mm-hmm.
So, Donnie, you like being right in the middle of the story here? You like that it was the video you sent out and the quotes that you were sending out yesterday that created this whole hullabaloo? Do you like being the center of attention?
Juices flowing a little bit.
You were right back in the huddle and at Greensburg.
Get it right.
Greensburg, Salem.
Yeah, there it is.
He almost said Greensburg Central Salem,
Acting like I'm some Central Catholic
Getting
kid.
ready to
let's not rip Catholic school and high school too much.
Getting ready to play Riverside, and you're thinking about pancake.
Never played them.
Okay.
Who would you play? Hempfield? No.
played Hempfield my sophomore year, and then we didn't play them the rest of my high school
But
career.
this got the whole competitive juices back going,
You
huh?
wrote the bombshell, and you weren't kidding. It's like being a boxer. You either got to be comfortable standing in the pocket, knowing punches are coming your way, and throwing back, or you got to get out of the ring, Donnie.
I believe in what we sent out yesterday. I believe
Rob.
what was said.
I believe Rob because I have a healthy skepticism for pro sports teams, like honesty in these specific matters for this, and I'll even defend that. It sounds very combative towards the Penguins here, but I'll say this. If I were in their shoes, anybody that talked today so far, Sullivan or Crosby, about this, I would lie through my bleeping teeth.
I would think
I would not tell the truth at all on this.
I would think if there was on Crosby's part some resentment or bitterness over how that went down, I would think that he would have pretty much said, yeah, I'm not going to comment on that.
Pony, what about this though? If he knew he was probably going to be good to go when say you're hypothetical, right, where he passed a concussion test, but maybe they held him back for other reasons. He still had one more game, and he still knows intellectually they had a lead with almost under 5 minutes to go in that game. They were 5 minutes away, basically 6 minutes away from advancing. I can imagine where the competitor in him thinks maybe I'm not going to be as mad as I would have been if we had gotten our doors blown off, say in Game 7. Like Game 7, they were good enough to be moving on right up until the end when they weren't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that could ease the sting on his part.